Hi, everybody. This is Todd Creager. Uh, Today, I'm going to talk to you about building post-traumatic growth after infidelity. Now, people know that infidelity can be very traumatic, and it often creates PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. I help a lot of people with that. I help the person who was betrayed heal from it, whether they stay with that partner or not. I help the person who did the betrayal heal from PTSD, from not only the discovery and the shame, but also maybe some past developmental trauma that I've talked about in some of these videos, and help them heal so that they can actually be safer and more trustworthy when they heal from their earlier trauma. So that's PTSD. But there's another concept that's been around and that's very important. I've taught it to grad students and I've taught it to my clients, and it's post-traumatic growth. What I have found in my practice, and what's been written about a lot, is that as difficult as trauma is, that for many people, they actually begin to benefit from the trauma in the long term by growing from it. An example of post-traumatic growth would be someone whose husband suddenly dies of a terminal illness, and they were very dependent on their husband, and yet because that husband died, they now find ways to become more independent. Again, that doesn't say that death was a good thing, but it can help that person develop that part of them that wasn't there before. So, in the similar vein, there can be post-traumatic growth for both partners as they're healing from infidelity. The person who didn't communicate well can learn how to communicate. The person who was not speaking up enough, or maybe it was a betrayed person who didn't listen to their own intuition. They had blind spots, and they had red flags, I'm saying, and they didn't pay attention to them. They learned to trust their intuition. There's many, many, many examples of what I've seen partners and couples learn through healing from infidelity. So I'm going to answer 5 questions regarding how to build post-traumatic growth. How do we take the relationship to the next level? Okay, we've been dealing with this crisis and it's been a challenging thing, and we've dealt with discovering what's going on, healing each other and ourselves and the relationship. We've been learning how to handle triggers, but now how do we actually really create a vision, which is one of the questions I'll get to later, to create a relationship that is more robust than it's ever been. So the first question that has been asked to me in a various ways that I want to answer is, how do we know we're ready for the next level? I mean, I've been dealing with this crisis with my partner, and I've been feeling unsafe, or I'm the betrayed person that has been feeling a lot of regret and shame, and whatever the case. How do we know we're ready to create that kind of relationship? Well, of course, it's not a black and white moment when you're not ready and then you are ready. I think as you're going through this healing, you're preparing, and you're preparing so that there's a point when the crisis, that dealing with the crisis, it doesn't end entirely, but it gets to be a smaller part of what you're focused on, and you begin to start to notice that you're focusing on communicating more, you're focusing on playing more, you're focusing on developing internal traits that maybe were underdeveloped before, such as the non-communicative one communicating more, the passive one being more assertive. Um, I've seen, for example, here's an example. Couple where there was infidelity. In this case, the husband was the one who did the cheating. He had a lifestyle of avoiding talking about tough situations, and he became more and more separate and disconnected from his partner because of that trait. And that was one of the factors there, his tendency to not confront. So he's not as invested, he's not as close, he's not as connected. And so he has to work on that. His partner who was betrayed starts to see that he's consistently not always waiting for her to bring up the tough topics, but he's bringing up the tough topics. And this is the couple I'm thinking of. And she starts to realize that he's changing. He's changing from the inside out. This is not about, I'm not going to cheat anymore, or I'm not going to betray you anymore. That's a given, of course, but what's going on deeper on the inside? And you know you're ready when each person has bought into that we need to make the changes that we need to make on the inside. Again, the example of the person who was betrayed, not ignoring his or her intuition anymore, and trusting themselves that I will listen to me and I will assert myself, and the person starts to see it, and they see in their partner more of a willingness to share and communicate. Just in that example, um, so that's how you know you're ready. Is when I'll say it more. Now that I've spoken this long, I could make it succinct. One is both people have bought into. I want to change here from the inside out. And number two, you're just beginning to start to see an applying of this desire to change from the inside out by doing behaviors, beginning to do behaviors that are different. I mean, the other aspect of knowing you're ready for the next level is when um, the challenges and the pain of the infidelity have been communicated enough that it hasn't been avoided. Because until it's faced, until the betrayed person feels like I know enough information, all that stuff that you had to deal with to begin the process of understanding what went on, who are you, what is that about, and healing from the infidelity, it's going to be very difficult to go to the next level. Okay, question number two. What does healthy regulation look like for us now? That's an important question because I'm basically saying that everything we do is to regulate our emotions and our energy. And so if painful things have happened, if betrayal has happened, it's because of a lack of healthy regulation on the part of the person who betrayed, and possibly lack of co-regulation between the couple. So what it looks like is, number one, a willingness for both people to sit down and look at each other in the eyes and talk about what's going on with them. What it looks like is the person who's hearing things creates a space to listen, even if it triggers something in them and they want to talk. So they're learning how to take turns. They are, if you've heard past videos of me talking about the exercise of playing catch, say one person throws, the other person catches. The person catching is able to have the emotional muscle to not just immediately reduce their attention, but rather stay present for the other person and stay with that other person's experience and be actually sincerely interested in that other person's experience rather than trying to right away correct or be right. So you can see in the first question and the second, a lot of it is about not only just doing it, but having the desire to do it. You make a decision to desire to be present, to desire to put your agenda aside, to stay tuned in to the other person. Because when you tune in to the other person, that person will be regulated. When that person gets the sense that you're with me, their central nervous system calms down, and that's regulation. So if I can practice regulating myself, if my partner says to me something that, I'm really angry at you, or let's say a couple that I'm working with who has been infidelity, the partner says, I'm really triggered again, and I'm really angry at you. I'm just thinking about what you did. And the other person has the immediate feeling of, oh, not again. They handle it. They take some breaths. This is what it looks like. Take some breaths. Give me a second sometimes. I'll say, give me a second when you said that, because I want to be there for you. And they breathe, and they exhale, and they soften. And they remind themselves that they got to do the more difficult thing. They can't just right away say, get over it, or reduce their tension at the other person's expense of feeling like their experience is minimized. No. And then you say, I'm here for you. Give that message. Tell me more about your anger. You stay present for that person's emotional experience, whatever it is, however it makes you feel. Your turn and time will come, but you got to take turns. That's what healthy regulation looks like. Most couples don't do this automatically. This is something you got to train for. Just like going to the gym and developing your muscle in your body, now you're developing the emotional muscle of being present, of being there, regulating yourself enough so that you can regulate the other person. And what it looks like is the couple is able to share and have difficult conversations, and yet they don't escalate. Or if they do, they quickly go, wait, something's gone awry. Let's quickly repair it. The question number 3 is, how do we maintain growth while facing challenges? You're seeing a theme here. You have to desire growth. You have to accept the challenges of being emotionally present, of developing the emotional muscle, accepting challenges, recognizing life is challenging. Dr. Edward Peck wrote a book called The Road Less Traveled, and he started the book by saying, life is difficult. That was the entire paragraph. Next paragraph. Paradoxically, once you accept this truth, life becomes significantly less difficult. And it is true. When you accept its difficulty, when you stop resisting it, you now can handle it. You're not resisting it. You're not insisting on it being easy. You're not insisting on your partner never challenging you to love them, even what they're saying triggers some emotion in you. So the growth is connecting with your partner, even when you want to fight or flight or shut down. You stay connected. And if you have trouble doing that, you want to maintain growth while facing these challenges. So you do anything you can. You go see your own individual therapist. You do whatever you got to do. You take a meditation class. You do yoga. Whatever you got to do so that you could practice accepting the challenge and staying connected. You're staying connected through thick and thin. That's the post-traumatic growth that we're talking about. Question number 4. Now this is a little bit of a shift again. We're trying to get the relation to the next level. What role does romance play in our healing? And now I define romance very simply as something I say or something I do that uplifts my partner. And we need to do that. We need to take that on. That is my job. My job is to uplift my partner, which is being romantic. So uplifting my partner um, happens when I give my partner a compliment, a heartfelt compliment. It's romance. If I set up a date and it's a romantic evening, of course, that's romance. If I buy flowers, that's what people think of when we think of romance, but it's one of many ways, but that is romance. Why? Because it can uplift the partner's energy. Now, if the partner's allergic to flowers or roses, don't get her roses or him, because it will not uplift that person. So that's not romantic. Don't buy roses to someone who's allergic to roses. So you got to think about your partner and what will uplift your partner. Um, so it plays a big role in your healing, a very big role in your healing, for a variety of reasons. One is we all need to be uplifted. We do. But secondly, um, when we have a relationship where we're learning to connect, like I talked before, communicating even through tough stuff, that down regulates that person, downranks them from more stress to less stress. And that's, well, like I said, that's what healthy regulation looks like, is that there's a calmness, there's not an escalation, but there's also upregulation, helping each person feel alive. And when you're finding healthy ways to downregulate by communicating, even when things are challenging, and by upregulating, doing romance, the chance of secrets and infidelity go way down, because you're you're regulating, you're co-regulating together, and romance is part of that. I'm uplifting you. um uh, After this video, if I run down the stairs and look at my wife and say, God, you're beautiful, and give her a big hug and a kiss, that's romance. I'm uplifting her. Think that won't have a positive effect on her? Of course it will. Of course it will. So we got to tune in to what uplifts our partner. It not only uplifts us for the present, but it is a preventative measure to make sure, I'm not saying 100% guaranteed, but it almost zero, it minimizes the chance of infidelity almost to zero when a couple is learning how to down and upregulate each other well together. So be romantic, uplift your partner consistently. Fifth question, last question. How do we create a new vision for our relationship? Now, specifically, when we're dealing with healing from infidelity, we want to have several mindsets that's important. And one is that you can have a beautiful relationship even when there's the scars of infidelity. I joke about it, but I have a scar here, I have a scar there from different things that have happened to my face, but I'm still beautiful. Still have a beautiful face despite my scars, and you could have a beautiful relationship despite the scars of infidelity. So you want to free yourself to have the best possible vision of your relationship. And the other mindset that I'll mention now is to accept that life isn't so simple, and that life can be beautiful despite our parts, our complexities, the shadow parts that got us into these troubles, but also the courageous and persistent parts that are getting us out of them. Okay. And to appreciate the depth of each person. So again, that gives us permission to create that vision. Now, how do you create a vision? You think about, what do I deeply want? Do I want to have a relationship where we both cooperate together better? Do I want to have a relationship where we have more physical intimacy? Think about what you want. Be interested in what your partner wants. Have conversations about what you guys want. Go beyond your comfort zone. Don't have a limited vision. Don't have a ridiculously impossible vision, but don't have a limited vision. And create a vision of what you want your relationship to be like. Maybe part of it is the simple thing of every day we slow down together for 10 minutes. Because I know that that's something that when couples do that, their relationship totally gets better. So that becomes part of your vision, your day to day, 10 minutes a day. And you could have visions about, okay, in a year from now, we're going to be living in this new house, or whatever you want to do. But to me, the most important parts of this new vision is about your connection. You could add other aspects of your relationship, but it's your connection. Maybe part of the vision is you see yourselves going out on a nice date every week or every 2 weeks or whatever you decide. You go out on a weekend by yourselves. If you have kids, you make sure you have babysitters. These are the kinds of things you put into your vision. So it comes from permitting yourself to have this vision, giving yourself permission. You want to accept the things that have happened in your relationship and use it as a springboard for post-traumatic growth. And then you give yourself permission to think about what is it that I want, what do you want, and you create a common, united vision based on that. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about today, building post-traumatic growth after infidelity. I really hope that has been a helpful thing for you to listen to. I would imagine it is. I'm very passionate about this topic of post-traumatic growth and raising the relationship to the next level, even after a crisis such as infidelity. So as you will, this is Todd Creager, making the world safe for love.